Okay, committee, we are live.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that the County of Haliburton is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We acknowledge a shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize its original inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Members Snyder and Donald.
Be it resolved that the September 16th, 2024 Land Division Committee agenda be hereby approved.
All in favor? That's carried. Could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the Land Division Committee minutes from August the 12th? Members Kennedy and McKelvey.
Be it resolved that the minutes of the Land Division Committee meeting held August 12th, 2024 be approved as printed and circulated.
All in favor? That's carried. Okay, our first application for consent is by Peters for the establishment of 2 new residential lots.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll share a screen for committee. And I trust everyone can see the screen. Okay. Subject property is in Township of Minden Hills. It's just south of Canning Lake, and it's just northwest of the intersection of South Lake Road and Gellert Road. The application proposes to create 2 new rural residential lots with frontage on Porky's Road on both sides. It's a corner lot here with the intersection of South Lake Road. And then the retained lot would have frontage exclusively on South Lake Road, which is a county road. So the first lot would have an area of 1.23 hectares with 78 meters of frontage, and that's on this side here. For corner lots, we count the shorter of the 2 frontages as the frontage. And then it's got 160 meters, 159 meters of frontage on this side of Porky's Road. Severed lot 2 has an area of 1.2 hectares, again with 78 meters of frontage on Porky's Road. And the retained property, 5.34 hectares with 150 meters of frontage. And the site evaluation report submitted with the application depicted a building envelope at the west side of the property. County Public Works did investigate whether an entrance would be suitable in this location, which it is. So this was signed off by County Public Works as being adequate for the sightlines. Site evaluation report was submitted. It depicted building envelopes on each of the severed lots and the retained lots. Minden Hills has endorsed the application. County staff have no objection, subject to the conditions in the staff report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And I believe Bev Wicks is here if there are any questions about the environmental report. Thank you.
Do any of our members have questions for Adam first? Member Snyder.
Thank you. Adam, a question and then a follow-up, I think. Are there any guidelines as to what an appropriate building envelope should look like?
Through you, Madam Chair. So when the ecologists visit the site, and Bev can certainly speak to this probably in better detail than I can, but what they're looking at is they're taking an inventory of the property and identifying the areas that should not be touched, as well as buffers to those features. And then what you're left over with is areas that can accommodate development without any environmental impacts. And so in this case, Riverstone has generally identified envelopes on each of those properties. And it's a mechanism that demonstrates that the properties can be developed without impact.
Okay, so my follow-up question is, and you partially answered it, will a future owner of the property be restricted to the building envelope that has been suggested?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes. The conditions from Minden Hills include a site development plan as well as a development agreement. So those documents are registered on title. So when the new owner 5, 10, 20 years from now comes forward, that document spells out how the lot shall be developed. And in this case, based on Riverstone's recommendations.
Okay. What made me raise the questions is the one lot has a building envelope that's only 20 meters wide, which in a forest area seems quite restrictive. A lot of builders want to clear more than 20 meters to build their house in.
Sure. And I'm just going to look at that. I looked at that as well. And I think that Riverstone, and again, Bev can clarify, I think Riverstone identified actual building footprints, and then they identified an overall envelope, which includes the septic, driveway, well, et cetera. And I'm wondering if perhaps that 20 meters was the width of the building. I'm just bringing up the sketch here. Okay, so just to clarify, I do see that one. It's on the retained lot. It does show it shows a structure width of 20 meters, but the actual envelope width is 110 feet, give or take.
No, I was looking at the second lot on Porky's Road, sort of the one to the north.
Okay, so it shows so it shows a building envelope width of 20 meters, 66 feet, and then it's got that depth to it. And the it shows a side yard setback of 15 meters, which I don't know off the top of my head what the setback is in Minden Hills for a rural residential lot, but that 15 meters might be a little bit larger than the bylaw allows. So that would open up the size of the building envelope. But I could probably have Bev identify that or clarify that a little bit. But yeah, I agree that building orientation would definitely have to be lengthwise into the lot based on that dimension.
Is Bev here?
Yes, she is. Through you, Madam Chair, just while we're waiting for Member Snyder, I'm just going to look up quickly the Minden Hills side yard setback for that zone.
Okay. Bev, you've heard Member Snyder's questions. Is there anything that you would like to add to that?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Sorry, I had a hard time getting myself unmuted. The lot sizes are based on the deer wintering criteria. So the area is 0.18 hectares. It's allowed to be cleared. And because we're asked for the provision of a specific area and building envelope, we try to provide something to demonstrate that the lots can be developed. And I know it becomes restrictive when that's a request, when there are different configurations or opportunities to change those configurations. So I guess as long as we are at 0.18 hectares, which on each of these lots, there's plenty of space to accommodate development, there could be an adjustment to sizing, although I know that they will be registered on title in the future if there was a desire to change up that configuration of a lot or a building area. That could be accommodated as long as we stick to the designated 0.18 hectares. I'm not sure if that helps clarify how these areas were generated.
Does that clarify things for you?
That does help. My concern really was around the restriction that's being placed here. And if the 0.18 is a requirement in the deer area, then they'll have to, any future builder or owner will have to deal with it, I guess. So I'm good.
Okay, and 20 meters wide, even though it seems quite a narrow swath, it does provide for a reasonable sized house. It's just it's a long skinny lot as opposed to a wider lot. That's and the housing and the septic envelope are sort of a standard size that we apply just to make sure that it's a reasonable development envelope.
Adam, did you wish to comment?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, just and understanding the rationale provided by Bev on why the envelopes are the way they are. The Minden Hills rural residential side yard is 10 meters, so there might be some room in there closer up to the road to get a building, have a larger building envelope closer to the road as opposed to further back.
Are there other questions from committee members? I see that Mr. Peters is here. Is there anything that you'd like to add, Mr. Peters?
Sorry, no, not at this time.
Okay, if there are no further questions, could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the staff report and grant provisional approval to both applications? Member Kennedy and Member Snyder.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton received the staff report related to applications for consent H-03324 and H03424, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H03324, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H03424, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report. Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Snyder?
Yes.
Member Donald?
Yes.
Member McKelvey?
Yes.
And Chair Danielson.
Yes. That's carried. Thank you, Ms. Wicks and Mr. Peters.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next application is by Nielsen for a lot addition between two waterfront parcels.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I will share a screen for committee. Okay, so the subject property is located on the south shore of Little Boshkung Lake, just west of Highway 35 in the township of Minden Hills. And what this application will do is convey this large wooded vacant area here in the yellow hatching. It will be conveyed from the granting lands, which are 1135 Terrelac Lane, and it'll be added to this property here in blue, which is 1186 Terrelac Lane. Both properties have cottages and outbuildings, and they are previously developed, and they're both accessed via right-of-way of Terrelac Lane, which is a private road. Minden Hills has endorsed the application. County staff have no objection. The just by way of numbers, 1135 Terrelac will be reduced from 44 acres to 2.4 acres. And then the frontage will go from 785 feet down to 403 feet. And the grant or benefiting lot at 1186 is going to go from 2.04 acres to 43.2 acres. And the shoreline frontage will go from 203 feet up to 530 feet. And just one note, these numbers all comply with Minden Hills zoning requirements for the SR zone, so no rezoning is needed for either of these situations. So staff have no objection, subject to the conditions in the report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Questions from members? I believe that we have a Mr. Bailey. Is he here or did he wish to? And if so, does he wish to speak?
Yes, I believe Mr. Bailey is being brought in.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bailey. Is there information you'd like to provide to the application?
I'm trying. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
I apologize.
Sorry.
Nothing really to add other than to mention that the property has been in my family actually since 1967, and we're really just transferring the acreage and a large chunk of the frontage from the existing large parcel to create a large parcel on the other existing cottage. So really just shifting some acreage and some frontage from one older cottage to the newer cottage, that's all.
Any questions from committee members for Mr. Bailey? Okay, if there are no further questions, could I have a mover and a seconder then to receive the staff report and grant provisional approval to the application? Moved by member Donald, second by member McKelvey.
Be resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton received the staff report related to application for consent H-03524, and that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H-03524, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report. Member Kennedy,
Yes.
member Snyder,
Yes.
member Donald,
Yes.
member McKelvey,
Yes.
and Chair Danielson.
Yes. That's carried. Thank you. Okay, our final application is by Greenhow for a lot addition in Dysart et al. I guess that's on Drag Lake.
Yes. So I'll share screen with committee. So the subject properties consist of two waterfront lots. One is developed at 1595 Tattersall, and this is on the kind of in the southwest corner of Drag Lake at the end of a long bay. And the granting lot in red is vacant, and this application will grant an area of approximately 1,300 square feet, which is shown in green here. And it will go from the red granting lot to the benefiting lot at 1595. And the reason for this application is that approximately 20 years ago, an addition was put on the west side of an existing cottage, and it's basically a garage covered area, and then there's a deck addition here. And the issue is that once the property was surveyed, there'd been some additional survey work. It was determined that the edge of that building addition was more or less right on the line, just shy a few inches, but there was an overhang of approximately a foot, and that was shown in the photos. So what the remedy here is that this boundary adjustment will provide the 4.5-meter side yard setback required from all sides. This sketch isn't to scale. It was done by hand by the applicant, but the survey that comes in will ensure that there's 4.5 meters from all points of this building addition to the new side lot line, which is here. And I'll just walk committee through the photos again. Really, the eave overhang is why we're here. And this is roughly, not to scale, but it roughly shows what's going to happen is that we're basically taking some land here that's, it's got a few trees, but, and it'll create that required setback for the cottage addition and then the deck addition here. So Dysart staff have endorsed the application, subject to a number of conditions. One of them is a minor variance for lot area for the granting lot. It is undersized now, and then this will reduce it by 1,300 square feet. So it requires a variance to bring it on board. County staff have no objections, subject to the conditions in the report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Unfortunate when a house is built so close to the property line. Questions from committee members? Hearing none, I understand that Mr. Greenow is present if he'd like to add anything.
Madam Chair, I don't see him in attendance. I'm going to just check my email in case he had an issue. That sometimes happens.
Okay.
Okay, I don't see any email from Mr. Greenhow. So we'll assume he was not attending.
All right, if there are no further questions or any questions from the committee, could I have a mover and a seconder then to receive the staff report and grant provisional approval to the application? Moved by member Donald, seconded by member Kennedy.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton receive the staff report related to application for consent H-03624, and that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H-03624, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report. Member Kennedy,
Yes.
member Snyder,
Yes.
member Donald,
Yes.
member McKelvey, and Chair Danielson.
Yes. That's carried. Thank you. Do we have any other business that we need to discuss today, Adam?
Through you, Madam Chair. So for next month, I have one application in Highlands East, and I received 3 applications in Algonquin Highlands late last week. I still have to go through them and review to make sure that they're complete. So stand by on those ones.
Okay. So I see our next meeting is scheduled for October the 14th, just to make sure everyone's available for that date.
That's Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we better set a different date then.
Or double pay. What are the other?
You can't do the meeting from the dining room table. No? So committee, I mean, we could, I think historically what we've done is if it's a holiday Monday, we bumped it to the following Monday, if that works, or we could postpone it to the Tuesday, the 15th.
I'll be away the following week hunting, so I prefer the Tuesday, but it's up to the committee.
Tuesday, the 15th of October. So, okay.
I'm fine with either.
I'm fine with either also.
Okay. So we will schedule that meeting for Tuesday, October 15th at 1 p.m.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. All right then. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
Did we do the conflict of interest
Oh,
call? I'm not
you're
sure.
absolutely correct. I did not. I'm still a bit foggy coming off of COVID.
Understood.
I guess I should just formally ask if any members of the committee did have a conflict with respect to any of the applications.
No.
Well, that's good. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Much appreciated. So with no further business to discuss, could I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn? Members Kennedy and Snyder.
Be it resolved that the September 16th, 2024 Land Division Committee meeting be hereby adjourned.
All in favor? That's carried. Thanks so much, everyone.
Have a great afternoon. Get well, Liz.
Thanks all.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Pat.
hope you're feeling better.
Enjoy the day.